Welcome to STL Sports Central and Card Central 365, powered by Graybar. All content is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick and Stefan Caray here on the off day for St. Louis. A much-needed one after plenty of struggles in the Pacific Northwest. They are swept by the Seattle Mariners, and there was a big opportunity to gain some ground in the wild card. I know you had otherwise been totally removed from that possibility, but the pieces were there for the Cardinals to get back in this thing. They led in all three games. They scored first in all three games, but unfortunately for St. Louis, they couldn't pull any of them out against a surging Mariners squad.
Yeah, and like I told you when we did the show together earlier this week, I'm checked out on it. I'm not gonna let them rope me in. I'm not gonna let them hurt me anymore this year. And as you know, getting ready to do the show, I kind of look at the standings because again, I'm paying attention to what the Cardinals are doing. I'm not paying attention to what anybody else is doing. And I see they're still 4.5 games back of the wild card. And it's just one of those, it's like, son of a bitch. Like, if you would have went and taken care of business in Seattle,
or against the Rockies or against the Pirates,
I'm just talking like instant, right here coming off a successful homestand, and you go to Seattle, and I guess, it's you're looking for all these minor victories. At least I am right now in what to build forward in. The Mariners are a good team. The Mariners are a team that nobody's going to want to face come postseason play. And you didn't get blown out in those games. You didn't get embarrassed. Your starting pitchers went out there and did their jobs for the most. I mean, really, you look at it. 4 runs, 5 runs, 4 runs. And yesterday was a 13-inning game. Pitching was there for you. And we talked about this as we previewed the series. Like, the Mariners have good pitching. They do. And you weren't able to score more than 3 runs against them in any of those games. So it's frustrating. And now I'm ready for you to tell me about how they can catch the Brewers or something.
I already made my pitch the last time we were on a show together, but you're right. Against a team like the Mariners, if you score 3, you got to hold them to 2, and scoring 3 is a tough ask with that rotation that they've built up. The Brewers have been surging. We talked about this off air. They have been one of the best teams in baseball since the All-Star break. 33-18 in 51 games. They're carrying a 3.57 team ERA, scoring just over 5.5 runs per game. I mean, those are big numbers for a 51-game sample size. And they're a team that really controls their own destiny. They look like not just the best team in the Central, not just the best team in the National League. They look like the best team in baseball. And time and time again, we've talked about the Brewers, team that wins their division and then sometimes gets bounced from the wild card. That's not what I think we're going to see from the Brewers this year. They're hungry. They're ready to attack. And the Cardinals, with all of the question marks around their personnel, this could be a very dangerous weekend if things don't line up right.
Yeah, I still, though, see them as a team that's going to get bounced. It looks like they are going to have a first-round bye. So it does look like they are going to make it onto the divisional series, which might even be a worse thing for the Brewers, because in that case, you're going to get a team that has that momentum, that's coming off winning a few games while they're just sitting around waiting. So I think that's something that they definitely don't need when it comes to their post seasons of past and trying to get over that hump. With that, I still, you and Claves were talking about it the other day. Like, you just look at this roster and, you're like, oh, they don't have that guy anymore. Wait, they have that? No, they don't have that guy. Like, you kind of look through it and you're like, how the hell are they winning baseball games? And at some point, the Cardinal Devil magic transferred over to Milwaukee.
Well, the Brewers are now becoming the gold standard of how to run your organization, developing through your minor league system and then signing cost-effective free agents that turn out to pay dividends for your team. Like I said to Claves the other day, they're like the new Tampa Bay Rays. They scout well, they develop well, and they keep their payroll pretty low, but you wouldn't know it by the way that they perform on the field. Now, let's take the magnifying glass away from the Cardinals here. And I know that this is called Card Central 365 for a St. Louis-based company. I want to talk about the National League and the wild card at large. How hot is the seat for the New York Mets? I mean, they have not played good baseball. They have not played average baseball. They have played really bad baseball for the better part of about 2.5 weeks, and they've allowed 2 or 3 teams to get within striking distance.
I mean, you also talk about it with an owner who is the richest owner in all of professional sports, where current contracts be damned. It doesn't matter if you have to, pay him one manager when you go out and you hire a better manager. And as of right now, I don't know who the hot managerial candidates might be in all of baseball. I haven't dug into that deep enough yet because here in St. Louis, I don't think Ollie should go anywhere, but and if that were to be the case, I think everybody knows who choice A and choice B would be to fill that slot. But as far as the Mets go, I really do think, not only postseason, but man, you got to make it into that divisional round, right? At least make it into that divisional round, because you just spent how much money to go out there and acquire Juan Soto. He better be playing on a baseball team in October if that's the kind of money he's going to be making.
Yeah, they assembled this roster to try and win the World Series. Not to mention, they've brought up some players from their minor league system: Jonah Tong, Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean. 3 guys that have helped bolster a rotation that's been injured, and they haven't skipped a beat. They have pitched pretty well by and large. Now, this is a team that is designed to win the World Series. If they don't do that, I don't know what the uproar is going to look like. I know it's going to be loud because it's a New York sports team. Those fans are passionate, and certainly they expect results. After the Mets, who last year were kind of left for dead and then found a way to get to the NLCS, they got better. And to see them kind of backpedaling and swirling, that has got to be such a difficult position, because you're in year 1 of 15 with Juan Soto, and this is not a bad baseball team, but it's a baseball team that should be winning their division. It's a baseball team that shouldn't be just 2 games ahead of the 3rd wild card spot.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, Juan Soto was putting up the career best numbers on the year. How much blame, though, can you put on a manager? And how much blame are we giving Carlos Mendoza? Are we giving anybody else in that organization for some of the troubles that they've had? When you look at Ryan Helsley's numbers since he went to New York, how that's not on a GM. That's not on a manager. Like, that's on Ryan Helsley. that is 100% on him, because they went out there and they got one of the best arms at the trade deadline, and he's gone to New York and completely fallen apart. So in a way, like, I think you look at it big picture with that. And I don't think that, again, Carlos Beltran, like, is that a name that maybe you look at out there? Like, you give him that second chance to get that job again? Or is there somebody else that's a possibility that would be able to handle the being the manager of the New York Mets?
It's a great question, and one that we'll have to get to a little bit later on. A quick reminder that this show is powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Card Central 365, Joe Roderick, Stefan, Caray here with you. And the Mets, I think there are pressures that come with being a New York sports team. There are pressures that come with being a Philadelphia sports team. Those metropolitan cities, the fans are ruthless. They certainly hold their team accountable, sometimes to a fault. And I think that there are pressures that exist there that don't exist in St. Louis or Milwaukee or Chicago that sometimes impacts players. Now, it's just looking at this from a bigger magnifying glass. Fans are clamoring to the idea in St. Louis that you need to go spend a ton of money in order to make a good team. I typically agree with that point, right? You got to spend money to make money. You got to spend money to go out and field a team with stars, or you've got to develop really well like the Brewers have. However, if that's your logic, we need to go spend as much money as possible, and you pay contracts out to the wrong guys. Not to suggest the Mets have done that, but certainly teams in the past have. That's a dangerous, dangerous thought. It's a cautionary tale, certainly, for this offseason.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to do both simultaneously too. Like, gone are the days where you could just go out and completely buy your entire team. I think even if you look at the Dodgers this year, there are still a couple guys in that starting lineup that did come up through the system of with the Dodgers, right? You do still have that, and you have a leader in your rotation, not an ace by any means, but Clayton Kershaw is also Dodger made. So you need to have both with that. but you need to have the mean. And right now, that's, I think, going back to the Cardinals is one of the biggest things, because they went out and they spent money. They've spent money on Sonny Gray, and they spent money on Wilson Contreras. If Wilson Contreras is putting up the numbers that he's putting up this year as a catcher, that opens up so many more avenues for you to be a much more competitive baseball team this year. If Sonny Gray is pitching as a 2, maybe 3 on any other rotation in baseball that's in the postseason, okay, so you don't have that ace. So they went out and they spent money on those guys like fans wanted them to, and they're not getting 100% of the results back for that. And then on the flip side of it too, when you look at the player development, which players do we, I mean, this has been the runway year. Mason Wynn's going to win a Gold Glove. I think we all assume that. When you look at the other player development that's there, how much more successful is this team if Jordan Walker's playing to his potential, if Nolan Gorman's playing to his potential, if above and beyond, you keep going with that. Again, the development's not there. So it's just become that's just makes this perfect storm of mediocre baseball.
Yeah, it certainly has been. And that's something that I think we all have seen. I think people have not been shy about saying that things haven't necessarily gone the way that they had hoped, but they could be a lot worse. Now, back to your point about Sonny Gray, looking at just the numbers, right? He is set to pitch against the Brewers, 4.45 ERA. He's making over $20 million, and he's been your best starter. He's been your most effective starter, but that's not exactly what you want your ace to have in terms of numbers. He's a bad start away from potentially having a higher ERA than Miles Mikolas, and that's something that is really, really surprising, because he'll have 3 or 4 really, really dominant starts. Then he'll have 1 or 2 where things kind of go awry late in the game, right? 4th, 5th inning, not necessarily late in the game for the game, but for a starter in the game. It's just surprising looking at how well Mikolas has pitched since the All-Star break, and the struggles that have just permeated and plagued the Cardinals since the All-Star break. Joe, just looking at the numbers, right? I just mentioned it about Milwaukee, 3.57 ERA. The Cardinals, 4.54. They're almost a full point more than the Brewers. So that kind of tells you a bit of a story there.
Yeah, absolutely. That 1 run a game again. I mean, we've talked about, you look at those numbers right there. You said 4.5 ERA, 3.7 runs a game is what they're scoring. And on the other side, flip side of that, and the Brewers on the other side, I mean, 5.6 runs a game, 3.5 runs allowed a game. That Seattle series, a perfect representation of the numbers that we have been seeing throughout the entire second half of the year for the Cardinals.
They really are. And it really does show that this is going to be a work in progress, getting these players up to speed, getting them ready to be major leaguers. Well, I'd feel remiss, Joe. We haven't talked about last night's game. We'll touch on it briefly. Again, I'm sure people don't want to discuss too much about getting swept, but again, kind of an anemic offensive performance. Emerson Hancock, Georgia Bulldog, got the win for Seattle. Ryan Fernandez got the loss. He's certainly had his struggles. But again, the Cardinals score first in the first, then they don't score again until the 11th inning. And I'm curious, Joe, what is your strategy as the opposing team on the road? Are you playing for that 1 run to take the lead, or are you playing for 2 runs in the top of the 10th?
100% depends on where you're at in the lineup, first and foremost, with that, and also who's at second. There are so many outside things that kind of play into that as far as strategy goes in those situations. So it's hard to just kind of give a blanket answer to that in the moment, because I do think there are so many times, and when you see that scenarios, as much as I hate it, as much as I hate the Manfred man on second to start the extra innings, it does make for a lot of strategy when you're on the road. When you're on the road, the strategy, I mean, that you have to figure out how you're playing that from the beginning. Where if you're at home, you get to sit and wait and kind of watch and see what's happening. But that's such a hard one to answer. And I know I'm hedging on it, but it's a hard one to answer when you don't have that. I still think, though, if it's a big bopper, you're letting them hit. Anybody else, you are either shooting for the right side of the infield or you're laying down a bunt and you're just getting him over to third, and you are doing everything you can to get that run in. But again, with the Cardinals lineup, there's so many high strikeout guys that even if you get that guy over to third, what good does it do for you?
I think that's a great answer, Joe. And certainly the Cardinals have played well in extra innings at certain points in the season. Last night, a struggle because they ran out of pitching at the end of the game. Now, we will touch on that a little bit later on. But first, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State. And you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we do officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. And for those that have that Pick 6 app, college football, or I should say pro football, begins tonight. Thursday night football kicks off for week 2. Is it Commanders and Packers, I believe, in the game tonight? So plenty of guys on the field on both sides to go in there and see what you can get on that Pick 6 app tonight.
Take a look. Be sure to check it out. And, of course, we'll have plenty of coverage, not only on the Cardinals, but with all sports here at STL Sports Central, and lots of new announcements coming your way soon. Now, Joe, the final thing I want to talk about last night, 2 performers, and they both were pitchers. Michael McGreevy, quality start. Riley O'Brien walking the tightrope late in the game. That was something that was really, really good to see, him not giving in to the pressure with the bases loaded.
Yeah, he's been, again, he's going to have his hiccups. He's not going to go out there and give you an Aroldis Chapman, 50 straight, was it 50 batters that he had? Or was it 50 batters or 50? Yeah, I think without a hit that he had allowed that got broken up yesterday by the Athletics. You're not going to get that out of Riley O'Brien. He's not going to be this dominant guy because, again, this is brand new territory for him. So every time that he goes out there and has a performance like he did yesterday, you sit there and you hope he builds on it for the next one. But you have to know that at some point he's going to have a bad one. Like he's going to go out there and give a game up here and there. But that's all in the learning process for him right now. You just hope that everything that happens this year is another stepping stool to next year.
Well, and it sort of comes with the territory in the innings that he's pitching those high leverage situations. It happens to everyone. But he and Matt Swanson look like they could be a good 1-2 punch the back end of the Cardinals bullpen next year, as they have looked this year. Now, diving into the Brewers and leg 2 of what I call the pilot trail, Seattle Mariners, formerly the Seattle Pilots, or I guess the Milwaukee Brewers, formerly the Seattle Pilots, moved to Milwaukee. And that's something that I think is interesting, that the way the road trip was assembled. They're staying at the what's the hotel?
The Pfister Hotel. The Pfister Hotel.
Yeah, the Pfister Hotel. It's haunted, but none of the guys are afraid of any ghosts. And certainly by morning's light, they arrived at the hotel.
I will tell you. So earlier this morning, Jimmy the Cat Hayes recorded a new Serving It Up podcast with Matt Holliday and Lance Lynn, and they did talk about the hotel. They told stories from the hotel, including a Matt Carpenter story where you'll have to listen to it when it gets put up. I think later today is when it'll be posted on Jimmy the Cat Hayes's podcast YouTube page. And also, you can find it by following STL Sports Central on all of our socials. We'll post a link for you there. But there is a story there for that. I will spoil part of it and tell you the cat who is there has said he never has seen a ghost. And he asked for a ghost to show up while recording the podcast, and no ghost appeared that we could see on the screen. So apologies for that not happening.
Well, good to know that Mr. Hayes is not a scaredy cat. He's just a phenomenal cat that
has
we
your
all
dad had any issues in that hotel?
No, I mean, I think when he was with the Magic back in the day, some of the players wouldn't want to stay there. My brother, when they stayed there last year with the Athletics, there were some, I think actually it was earlier this year, there were some players that didn't want to stay. And there are always some, funny tongue-in-cheek lines that I probably can't say on this show, but I'll tell you off air and we'll have a good laugh about it. Now,
I will say this. They did talk about the fact Holiday and Lynn talked about how much they enjoy that hotel because of all of the great memories they have in there. Because I think if you look back, there were a lot of clinching that was done during their Cardinal days that happened in Milwaukee. And you go back to the hotel and you keep the celebration going from there. So they tell stories of that as well.
Well, the Cardinals trying to be celebration spoilers this weekend. Let's talk about the starting.
Can they clinch this week? I haven't looked. I mean, can they? Is it possible to clinch something this weekend for the Brewers?
I feel like they've got to be getting close. I'll look at the standings here.
I thought I saw 2 days ago that they at least clinched a playoff spot if a list of things had happened, but I hadn't seen if that had happened yet. So
18 games left. Yeah, I don't think they can get there.
I think they can clinch like a spot in there. Yeah, I think they're with everybody else. Like I think they can. Whoever's third. Well, I guess the Mets are third in the wild card right now. I think they are 13 up on the Mets, and you look at who's after that. I guess it would be the Reds. You look at what the Reds and the Giants are. They're 15 up on them. I think right.
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah, that has to do with them just clinching outright a playoff spot. Worst they could do is third wild card, but I think it's a possibility to do.
Yeah, certainly. All right, so our starting pitching matchups this weekend, Andre Pallante versus Quinn Priester. Priester, a great addition for the Brewers. Pallante has had his struggles. Sonny Gray versus Brandon Woodruff in a battle of the veterans on Saturday, and Miles Michaelis versus Jacob Mizorowski on Sunday. So the Cardinals have some experienced pitchers. The Brewers have some young pitchers. And I'll be interested to see how it all plays out.
I am looking forward to seeing the Miz on the mound for the Brewers. We talked about this before we went on the air. It is it's such a good and bad type of thing. I love that they play everybody, and I love that you're playing every American League team at least once. I do really enjoy that every single year. I hate the fact that the last time the Cardinals saw the Brewers was in June. Before that was April. And now you're going to play them twice here in the final 2 weeks of the season. It's great that you're playing them final 2 weeks of the season. Like if games mattered, it would be awesome. We would love this. It'd be a great atmosphere next week in St. Louis for that. But when you look at it now, you're like, it's been 3 months since we saw him. Like it's been a long time for us to just sit there and watch them keep winning and winning.
Yeah. Not to mention how long it took the Cardinals to see the Cubs in the 2025 season. And this is a good practice because the Cardinals will have a gauntlet in August and September of next year. That schedule is brutal. It will not be easy, kind of like this stretch is for St. Louis. Joe, you have any final thoughts as the Cardinals head off to Milwaukee and try and salvage a decent road trip after getting swept by the Mariners?
No, but I did find on September 9th, by the way, Sarah Langs had tweeted out that the Brewers would have been able to clinch on September 9th with a win. And then Cincinnati, San Francisco, and the Dodgers all would have had to lose for them to have clinched on the 9th. So the Brewers are coming off getting swept. So the Brewers haven't done their job. And I'm guessing the other teams all have done theirs as well to all at least win games in some capacity. So that's what we have to sit and watch, and hopefully nobody on the Cardinals feels the effects of spooky season up there in Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I ain't afraid of no ghosts, as Scooby-Doo and Shaggy would say.
Scooby-Doo, they were the ones that said I ain't afraid.
Oh wait, that was Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That was Ghostbusters. You know what? I'll defer to you on that. But one thing I do want to say on a more serious note is I would feel remiss if I didn't mention today. It's September 11th, 2025. Of course, a day we will never forget, and all the brave first responders, men and women, the families and the lives lost. Of course, we are in solidarity with them on what was such a tragic day, but a unifying day. And I think baseball is another one of these areas in the world where we can all come together and be one people, regardless of if your team is good, bad, or something in between. I think it's very important to all hold each other tight and remember that we're all people, and honor the memory of those lives lost 24 years ago.
Yeah, and I believe MLB this a few weeks ago when they announced the schedule for the 2026 season, they made it a point to have the Mets and the Yankees play each other next year on September 11th, the 25th anniversary of that. And I think I read that that's kind of a plan moving forward, is to have them playing each other on the around the anniversary of September 11th. And I think that's a good way to unify that city and remind them of everything that the city went through and the nation went through on that day.
It's a great celebration, and certainly one that I'll be looking forward to tuning into. Well, for everyone here at STL Sports Central, all content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. This has been Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar. For Joe Roderick, I'm Stefan Caray. We'll see you a little bit later on. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tune in to all the coverage for the Cardinals and everything else.